Hey everyone, my name is Jason and we're here with the matchup analysis video. We haven't done one of these in a while, but Serbian Film messaged me the other day asking if he could get some help on a set that he did recently, semi-recently I think, and I looked at it and there's some interesting stuff to talk about. So we'll talk about this one. This is game 3 of Serbian Film versus Kumatora, Serbian Film being the Ice Climbers player and Kumatora playing Ness. So one thing I wanted to talk about that I thought was interesting was the idea of angles of approach and differentiating the different types of approaches that people do and how to both act as the approacher and act as the person who is defending against the approach. So what you're going to see is both of these players will be approaching at different angles, and I think that that's something very important to talk about. How do these characters approach, and what are these characters' strongest approach options and anti-approach options? So Ice Climbers is a very simple character to go over, so we'll do that first. What we can see here is Ice Climbers like to play on the horizontal plane. That's kind of like what they do. They have a long wave dash. They have really threatening down, like smash attacks, very quick down smash. Over here, you have a blizzard, which can cover like a huge area. And most of what they do is sort of centered around the ground level. It's different, like their up tilt is like very small, going up, and their up air is also covers like this little pillar region, which isn't like super huge. Meaning that they have strong angles and weak angles. The strongest angles would be horizontally, and their weakest angle would be either this vertical slice or this even weaker angle, which is this diagonal, right? It's really tough for Ice Climbers to deal with something that's coming in from this angle. They don't have really good options. They have a forward smash, which covers like kind of like this. Doesn't really do too much. Forward air also covers the same kind of arc, jab, and forward tilt don't really do too much. So if you actually approach at this sort of angle, Ice Climbers can't really do much because their up air goes here and their other movement options go here. There's like a blind spot, and I think that this is a very important thing to think about in any matchup. How to deal with and approach a character that, you know, like some people would say Ice Climbers are very difficult to approach, which is true if you're approaching them either this way or straight down. They have a disjointed up air, even though it doesn't cover a lot of space, it's pretty good if you come from this one angle. So what we're going to see is we're going to see Kumatora repeatedly trying to find this angle. On the flip side, let's talk about Serbian Film's movement and what are his approach options. The approach options are not always similarly linked to the anti-approach options, even though they sometimes can be thought of in the same way. If Kumatora is on this platform, what can Serbian Film do to approach? It's gonna be really tough because, like I said, there is a blind spot in his hitboxes, kind of like right here. You have this, but you don't have anything here. So if we put Ice Climbers in this spot and Ness here, it's gonna be really tough to use any of your attacks to approach, right? So similarly with offensively, like if you're Ness, you want to approach here. Defensively, you're going to want to defend here, or like kind of be evasive in that little pocket. So you'll see a lot of how the interpretation of these angles of approach can really make the difference between these players and how successful they are in the game. That was a lot of intro, but let's go and see what we're going to do here. Right here is something really important. Let me see if I remember how. Oops. To do 5-second intervals, 3 seconds. Here we go. I'm just familiarizing myself with the controls. So look at Kumatora's movement and how she is really aware of the angle that she needs to be at, right? The double jump cancel backwards really like shows her intentionality. So we'll play this. It's going to get a little freaky for a little bit. So you see right here, Kumatora moves forward and is going to try to go for that angle, right? I think that that's pretty reasonable on her end. So what we're going to see is she's going to go forward, but you see that the Ice Climbers are going to move. Serbian Film is going to move here. So now this diagonal approach, right, has now changed and is now a vertical approach for the most part. So you have to recognize when the approach that you want is no longer the approach that is the reality of the situation. You see that Serbian film is right here ready. If Ness keeps going at this angle, Serbian film is either going to be able to up smash or do a quick up air that can cover this space. So acknowledging that, Kumatora is going to get hit by that one. I'm a little too far back. Wait a second. Okay, I'm too far forward. Here, let's look at it like this. She jumps up, and here's where the up air comes out. Right? So I was actually talking about the wrong situation. You can see the up air works successfully in that similar situation afterwards. So that's still valuable information. Yes. Okay. Because I think that this is a very important micro situation to be aware of. So you'll see that right here, Serbian film, the next move he's going to throw out is an up air, and the next move that Kumatora is going to throw out is a double jump cancel back. So you see right here, that's the moment that I'm looking for. So let's talk about this. Kumatora was on her way in, which would have exactly hit where this up air was if she didn't double jump cancel back. But instead, she recognizes that her angle of approach, which was diagonal, has now become vertical. And she's avoiding that situation, double jump canceling back, and throwing out a PK fire, which covers that exact angle that she wants, right? One frame off from hitting, but it was a really good idea. PK fire covers the exact angle that ice climbers are weak against, that diagonal angle. They can't really do too much about it, especially when they're falling helplessly like that. So you see how she transitioned from a sort of a double jump approach to a different angle. And I think the difference between those two angles is what's gonna you're gonna see that throughout the rest of the game. Serbian film will do that again, right? So you can see right here, she double jump cancels this one is safe, doesn't double jump cancel that one, gets caught in the up air. That up air was trying to catch that same thing both times, right? Misses and hits. That's the difference in the angle of approaches. And you're going to see right here that Kumatora is going to stay very glued to this platform for the most part. She is really keen on like wave landing around it, trying to keep her movement platform based, right? You see right here, she doesn't do that, and then double jump cancels into a really terrible like approach option, right? The intention here was probably to cross up, but since the ice climbers are facing the other way, she just faces her way into a grab. Serbian film misses in a follow-up there, but you can see right here the same idea is happening. The ice climbers can only cover this little bit of area above them, so every time you the ice climbers leave the ground, it's gonna be in this sort of region. That's the only space that they can cover, and I think that that's something that you can potentially exploit, right? The ice climbers leave the ground. Their threat zones are a lot different than when they're in the air. Air is different than ground. So you can see right here, once they leave the ground, this is the only area you have to worry about now. When they're on the ground, right? Let's say that, let's use this as the ground, right? Okay. When they're on the ground, they have a lot more threat zones, right? The threat zones, they can blizzard, they can wave dash down smash, they can be anywhere along here, and they can up smash to cover this area, right? That's a lot bigger than this stick. Ice climbers can't even necessarily challenge this forward area because forward air is a little too slow. Down air covers a little below. They can't cover this. This is a huge blind spot when they're in the air, and then this is also somewhat of a blind spot as well. Things to think about. But you'll see that Serbian film is very keen to leave the ground and challenge Kumatora on these approaches, right? Trying to challenge those angles. And I think that the big C right there, again, whenever he finds the opportunity, right above, that's the only thing he can do. Or the only thing he tries to do, just because Kumatora is so dedicated to being above, right? And I think that you can see that when Serbian film attempts to approach, it looks a lot less different and is a little less successful because he's not approaching from the angle that is at his advantage. You see? That's something that's a little better. Once Kumatora is kind of on the ground, then you can see this huge threat range opens up with the ice, with the blizzard, right? The blizzard only really covers this area down here. Oh, it's like a lot of vomit, I'm sorry. But it covers this small cone. Anything above, anything in this direction is not covered, and everything here is. And you can see how far out that extends horizontally. That gives the ice climbers a huge advantage, and I think that for the most part, grounded approaches by Ness are going to be not super good. You see how high Ness or Kumatora double jump cancels up, right? So you can see that she is very conscious about this threat range that the blizzard poses, and she's always trying to kind of like flutter around here so that it's not super like apparent or super punishable using this movement over here. So let's clear this all off the screen and play a little more. And I do think that Serbian films sort of refusal to play grounded combined with Kumatora's insistence on playing on the platforms and playing in that really high region is making this matchup a little difficult, right? You can see it right here with the PK Fires always trying to hit at that diagonal angle. Ice climbers can't do too much. And Serbian film overextends a little bit there, so that's why that stock goes. But what would really change the pace and the rhythm of this game would be to sort of figure out how to deal with the Ness that's on platforms like this, always shooting PK Fires at this angle that the ice climbers very clearly can't cover. How do you do that? And I think an important thing to do is to let's get this, like, I'll explain while this stock gets evaporated. There's actually isn't much more game to go over, so we'll see right here. And obviously down 3 stocks to 1, you're going to see a little bit of rash behavior. But something like this is like very, I like to call it hungry. Like, you really want something to happen, so you just force it, even though the option isn't super good. The only way ice climbers can cover area in front of them is if they do this long wind up forward air and then it goes all the way around here. You know, it will cover this space eventually, but it's super telegraphed, and like Kumatora has way more than enough time to react to it and say, wait a second, there's a forward air coming. I could just jump over, you know? This is when the hitbox comes out and it's just like way too late. And Serbian film keeps getting messed up by he keeps getting messed up by the PK Fires. So let's go back in time a little bit. Let's figure out what he can do to get around all of this. Yeah, and I'm sorry if that tons of jumps mess you up, jump skips in time. But what you can do here, right, is acknowledge, okay, maybe I'm weak. Okay, and I think that this moment in shield is what I want to talk about after he is in shield right here. Advance a couple frames after he crouch cancels this, puts up shield again. Okay, I'm weak. You have to acknowledge the shortcomings of your character, right? If I'm ice climbers, I can't do this. You know, I can't deal with Ness, who's also going to be launching PK Fires at me from this angle like over and over again, and then double jump canceling back here. What can I do, right? If I'm stuck in this spot, what can I do? And the answer is not really much. The answer is you block, you roll, you get out of there, you know? Like, you have to acknowledge that you can't challenge this situation. But the great thing about Smash is that there's just so many movement options. You can change what the schematics or what the spacing of an interaction looks like. You can change it super fast. So when you see this Ness jumping, right, and you see that this Ness is going to lollygag in the air for a little bit while he's shooting PK Fires down at you, this all takes time to do, right? And the thing is, while this is happening, you can do stuff too. You can wave dash out of your shield and change the space. Right, so if I'm Ness and I'm committed to doing this jump up here, right, and I'm going to PK Fire here, in that time, PK Fire has a decent amount of startup time, not too much, but it is like enough to be exploited, right? He has to double jump cancel, do this PK fire like this. The entire time you see that Serbian film is holding his shield. You can do stuff while you're in shield. You can do stuff out of shield. I think that's very important to acknowledge, right? So instead of like, so right there, I think that was an attempt at a roll or a wave dash way too late. Right here, that's all dead space. That's all dead air. You know, you can do stuff while that's happening. You can change the spacing. You can change your spacing such that you can be in a more advantageous position, right? If you're Serbian film and you know that he's gonna or she's gonna jump back, then that's gonna be your cue to go in and say, okay, I'm gonna wave dash out of shield, up smash. That'll cover this area. That's an area that I can't cover when she's over here and I'm over here, right? That's not going to cover this PK fire. But if she PK fires here, I go down, I up smash underneath while she's on her way back down in the end leg of the PK fire. That's going to net you a hit in neutral, and maybe that'll do something. Maybe you don't even do that up smash. You know, maybe you just, she's here, you wave dash out of shield, and you shield again. Then she just lands here, and she's like, uh-oh. Then maybe something weird will happen. You never really know. And that's like one way to change this situation up. I think that this is the key micro interaction that defines this game, and that's something that Serbian film needs to address. Obviously, you can be all like, wait a second, like I don't, like Ness is like, has like tons of counterplay to doing that. Like if I wave dash out of shield here, then what if that Ness, instead of doing this float up double jump, right, does like a really quick double jump cut, which is like really common for Nesses to do. You'll see a lot of high-level Nesses, like that's how they make a lot of their movement really fast. Quick double jump cancel forward airs, like on the ground, like over here, maybe double jump cancel back airs, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, cutting, waiting for you to wave dash in. And that's true. Like this doesn't really, wave dashing out of shield gets beat by this. But the thing is, you have to really understand what the rhythm of the current situation is, what the rhythm of the game that you're playing is. Kumatora has revealed her hand and said, okay, I'm going to use this platform, I'm going to camp you from this angle, and I'm going to make you pay for doing that. So what Serbian film has been doing in response is saying, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm going to just try to like up air you. Maybe you'll miss space and you'll get hit by one of these, and then I'll get a juggle, which is like fine, you know, like up airs stack up over time. But the idea here to understand, and the takeaway from this, is that Kumatora is doing something right now, and she has done this repeatedly over and over again. And this is where you enter like a mix-up. You can understand that the next time she jumps, she's probably going to do the same thing. So you can go in and then exploit that way, right? When she jumps, you can wave dash under, and that's way better than if she jumps and you just stay in shield hoping that she messes up this time or hoping that she does something different. You have to enter the mix-up game, and unless you're able to do a wide variety of options, you're going to lose to the same thing over and over again, right? Let's just play this match. Kumatora, okay, after losing this stock, is going to say, okay, diagonal option, diagonal, like trying to hit with his PK fires, and then once you hit with the PK fire, then like then that's when you go in afterwards. But right now you see like staying on the platform, right? And what do you do when that happens is you're gonna have to actually get in there and get under, and you're gonna have to mix up your own spacing, because right now a lot of what she's doing is yeah, kind of exploiting that critical weakness angle. And you can see that Serbian film isn't necessarily doing too much to try to combat it. Yeah, that's after he loses the nanny, he's done. But yeah, I just think that, like, I don't know, I'll just keep this playing in the background while I'm saying what I think. But you have to really have a lot of variety in your gameplay. And if something's not working, you have to be able to switch it up, and you have to acknowledge that that's not working. And the ability to do that quickly is how you can get really dynamic, really interesting games with a lot of gameplay interactions that are like a variety of them throughout the thing. So you can see right here, Kumatora is getting caught at the beginning, but towards the end she cleans it up. And Serbian film is just like hoping that she keeps playing it sloppy. Couple like, you know, all these gimps and stuff are not helping the situation either. But you don't see any situation where Serbian film is doing what I would feel ice climbers are comfortable doing, namely wave dashing on the ground and denying approach options and shutting down dash stances with ice blocks and blizzard. That's something that ice climbers are really good at doing that Kumatora is not making really relevant. She's staying in the air, jumping around, being real crazy like that. And something like this, right? You see that, like, I think this interaction kind of says a lot too. Serbian film in shield, waiting, right? Waiting for a misspaced aerial. Kumatora wants this to happen. Serbian film, my bad. Yeah, so Serbian film wants this to happen. He's holding up his shield and he's saying, okay, I hope that she just double jump cancels an aerial, then I get a grab. That'll be like super chill if that happens. And if not, then, you know, like maybe she jumps over and then I'll up air. Like those are the two things he wants to happen. You can see that once he's in shield, he's waiting. He's not actually trying to, he already made his read, right? And he's reading that she's gonna jump down right now or jump straight up. See, but because she has access to this double jump cancel backwards to reinforce the diagonal, that's not really helping him out at all. So you're gonna have to mix it up. Serbian film isn't really responding to the ability for Kumatora to kind of approach at this angle of approach that's a weakness for ice climbers. And I think that with that, I'm probably gonna end the analysis right there. That's just something to chew on. And this isn't really, ice climbers is a very extreme example of this, but it applies to all characters. What angles does my character struggle with? Does my character hurt a lot when my opponent is directly above me? Does my character hurt a lot when my opponent is directly horizontal, or is it some diagonal? Is it perhaps like when my opponent's behind on a platform or something like that? Like, this is what people talk about when they talk about good spacing. It's not necessarily that you're spacing at the tip of all your hitboxes and all this stuff and you're at the edge of a dash dance. Sometimes it's just like understanding where is my character strong as far as these angles go. Every character has horizontal things that they have to worry about above this angle, like this whole area is like, you're saying like my character is not built evenly around this. Like, you know, a character like ice climbers, this is like very good, this is very bad, this is pretty good, this is very bad, you know, this is pretty good. But a character like, let's say Marth, you know, Marth, pretty good, very good, like pretty good. Like, this is where it gets weak, and this is like really terrible because you don't have anything that hits behind you. You'd have to like do pivots or forward smashes or whatever. So this is like good, 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 pretty good, and then like bad. So like each character kind of covers these angles differently, and I think that that's something that's worth talking about and thinking about for you know, just like in general, like that's a way to look at the game. So with that, I'm gonna close it out, and I'll see you all later.